New Trend Society, the BDX Marketing Podcast with Benjamin Dietering.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the New Trend Society podcast. Today's guest is a dear friend of mine, and within the last 12 months, he became a really dear friend. He's also German, and he built an empire here in the United States. Basically, he made it bigger. He took one of the most loved legacy brands in Germany and brought it to another level, scaled it within 6 years from 10 million to 100 million revenue, which is amazing. And we're talking about LIQUI MOLY, which is the number one motor oil. And today he's here on the podcast, Sebastian Zelger. Happy to have you out here.
Thank you very much, Benny. And back to you. Thank you, first of all, having me on the podcast. And having that connection with dear German friends, we kind of go through similar things. So that exchange once in a while is really great. And learning a little bit more today about your story. Honored to speak about the story we created here as a team in the US with LIQUI MOLY. And hey, let's have some fun. And let's see if we can teach something or if we can add some value to the listeners.
Totally.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. We saw each other a couple of weeks ago at SEMA, which is the biggest auto parts expo or show in Las Vegas with more than 130,000 attendees. And I was there and checked out your booth. You had two booths, one at Apex, one at SEMA at the Las Vegas Convention Center, and they were insanely huge. In a world where everything is digital and everything is just like Facebook ads, Google ads, and all that, why do you guys have such an immense analog presence?
Very good question. And you're absolutely right. A lot of companies we see are scaling back their efforts to actually have face-to-face touching points with the people. So we see there is a huge necessity. People still want to do business with people, right? I mean, this here is a friendship, and you develop friendships. If you meet each other once in a while, you like each other, are on the same page, all of a sudden a business relationship becomes a friendship. And it's way nicer to do business with friends versus with people you cannot actually stand, right? Given pricing is in line, given quality is in line. But if you then can choose, why not doing business with friends? And I feel this aspect is way more lived in the US than in Germany. I feel that networking aspect, I'm sure you have experienced similar things. Networking here in the States is even more important than in Germany. That all being said, yes, we were here at the Apex side and the SEMA side. And you're absolutely right. It is an international show, drives people from all across the world. We've seen people from Indonesia, people from Lebanon, people from Germany who are actually here. Our own folks from Germany visited just to see what we're doing. Maybe they have a couple of tidbits to take back to Germany, to the German market, because we do things differently than our mother company in Germany. And everybody had a blast, I can tell you that. Plus, circling back, as more and more companies go digital, hotline, or not face-to-face anymore, but resolving issues for their clients via AI on a platform, we live up to our promise that we're there for you in person. So it is a natural for us to be at the biggest trade show of automotive aftermarket in the US with our own people. So in total, we were almost 30 people, around about 15 to 20 at Apex and another 5 to 10 at the SEMA side. It's rotating a little bit just to connect with the distributors on Apex side and to connect with the gearheads, enthusiasts at the SEMA side. So we're on the one hand educating about our products, getting feedback of our products.
For the B2B side? Okay.
For the B2B side. Yep. It's actually a pure, believe it or not, a pure B2B show, the Apex and the SEMA. You as an end consumer could not get tickets to get in. You need to own a repair shop or know someone of the B2B world to be able to get into the Apex and SEMA side. So it's really for us connecting with the distributors, connecting with repair shops, and activating the brand at the end. So we create a pull and a push at the same time. So yeah, dude, great show. And I love the fact that you were there, could experience our booth, and we could catch up. So it was awesome.
How much do you guys spend on a show like this?
I mean, ballpark, I would say we started off a couple of years ago, 8 years ago, when I came to the United States. We were only at Apex side. It was cost, if you take booth fees, traveling, and so on, it was like maybe $200,000.
Okay.
And now we tripled the amount of people there. We doubled the amount of booths, plus the booth space became bigger. It's really hard to go smaller at a booth. You always kind of have to remain the same or go bigger. Otherwise, the perception of your competitors is like, oh, look at these guys, they're struggling, they're going smaller, or your customers, right? You don't want to give that perception out, but I would call it roughly just $500,000 now is what the all-in cost would be. Lodging, you know how crazy expensive US is, right? In these times, with hotels and so on. So $500,000 for 25 people and the 2 booths.
Okay. So, and do you make like a return of investment calculation for that? So like, okay, maybe these are the deals that we made or like that we can track down or so?
I would love to tell you now that in marketing, we could, as you know, it's really hard in marketing to actually track back. Okay, what was the factor which made the customer or the distributor buy your product? Was it the presence on the show? Was it thinking about it afterwards? Was it the follow-up email? Was it the offer we gave? I can tell you it is worth it for us, but could I tell you the return of investment? No. Why? In Germany, we have a couple of house shows where big distributors invite all their clients, and LIQUI MOLY is part of that too, and we write orders. That being said, at the end of a show, you can say, oh, we spent 200K, but we actually had $1 million of sales. So it is a positive return on investment. We don't write any orders. But what we do is we get new customers, new distributors, and we have some qualitative measures. For example, amount of customer visited the booth. Oh, so many new distributors came on board. And if we try to crunch some numbers, it is positive in terms of new business. Plus, the aspect of the brand awareness created, you cannot measure that. But we see every year double-digit growth, and something must work, right? So it seems like a little bit naive to believe it's working, but just the sheer amount of feedback we receive after the show, the amount of feedback my people give me, the amount of new repair shops we gain as customers, 100% justified.
Yeah, I'm asking because we're doing also a lot of events with New Trend Society, and I kind of say I have the same issues sometimes or the same challenges as events are also a lot of work, right? And imagine you were like with 25 people there and for a week, and they also working long hours, so they need maybe another day off the next week or
After
whatever.
That, a third had the flu, right? It's all things you don't really calculate, but if you want to know the true expense, you have to.
It's a month of work, right?
100%.
It's a month of work for the whole team, also.
Yes.
it's
I
pretty
think
crazy.
I still have like in my team, we still have like from the sleepless nights a little bit like the ice sacks here 2 weeks after that, just because it was very exhausting but very fruitful and amazingly so. Have you considered with your company here, Benny, to also go to these kind of shows as an exhibitor, which I don't know if that makes sense in your industry?
So I thought a lot about that, and for especially for Europe and for Germany, we always decided against it. Like one of the biggest shows that would be interesting for us is OMR, Online Marketing Rockstars in Hamburg. But we always had, there was always my mantra, kind of like, this is not BDX style. Yeah. So opening up an own booth, we would rather host a side event, a side party, something like that. And that's what we did the past years, which was very successful. We did a OMR's pre-side event. Also, I try to not to compete with others, as the evenings are always packed. So we did our OMR event. The show starts on Tuesdays, and so we did ours on Monday lunchtime. Gotcha. And we invited everybody beforehand, so they knew, okay, I just have to take a train earlier, and then I'm there from 12 to 3 p.m. But we are basically the kickoff for that. It was super packed, it was 200 people. We even had to send people away as it was so packed. So that was really, really good. But still, I think sometimes you have to overcome your mantras or your own beliefs. And I have on my bucket list for the next year a lot of shows. I want to go to Phoenix Brand Week, to New York Ad Week, and maybe a couple more shows which are right in the industry. I liked SEMA, but for doing business for ourselves, it was pretty tough as there weren't too many OEMs. OEMs are the big car Toyota, manufacturers, Toyota, Kia, so they were there, but they also didn't bring the A-team. They were just there because they had to be there, as their cars are the number one aftermarket cars, probably like your Toyota Tacoma or Ford F-150 or whatever, right? But we are aiming more on the luxury side, and these guys weren't there. So what I want to do next year is also tackle down more on Monterey Car Week, as C-level is everybody there.
Crazy event. I think it's one of the most prestigious.
Was it your first time, or you've been there a couple of times?
We've been there a couple of times. I personally was there the second time, but we as a company, we were there for the 5th year in a row.
Can you explain a little bit what it is about, and for someone who was never there and doesn't know the area, never heard of Monterey?
Yeah. So I'll try my best to do that, because it was only the second time and we're always consumed by the booths we have on each event. So you have to imagine Monterey, one of the most exclusive parts of California, super expensive to live. There is a lot of money involved, right?
Like 30 minutes south of San Francisco, right?
Correct, yes. Beautiful area. And you have a racetrack. Laguna Seca is, I think, pretty close to that, where also events take place. So it's not just one car week and one big event, it's multiple events. Don't quote me on that. Over 100 events take place during that week. Could be a specialized Porsche event at a golf track. Takes place from 9 to 12 o'clock, for example. We LIQUI MOLY have a little booth there where we have 2 of our people standing and just marketing our products, connecting with the community, right? But besides of that, you have Exotics on the Broadway, another show. And as the name already reveals, that is about exotic cars. So we had Shmi 150, maybe you know about him. He's a big car influencer. We had him at our booth there as well. So these 2 events were parallelly at the same time in Monterey happening. But besides of these 2 events, there's 98 other events happening during that week. And you have everybody who loves cars is there that week. So yes, it would be
especially
great for
the
you
decision makers, right?
The decision makers.
So a friend of mine, shout out to Robin. He works on a B2B newsletter software, Anaphora, and he said like he had a lot of good appointments with the CEO of Aston Martin and Lamborghini. Like everybody was there, and I mean even the chief of the board or the CEO of BMW Global was there. Actually, pretty funny story. Oliver Zipse. He was there. We were covering for it, and so he was on vacation in California, and it was not planned that he was there as an official part. So and then a week before, he told the people who ran the event, "Hey, by the way, I'm on vacation here. I'm coming by."
Oh, and everybody was super nervous all of a sudden.
Everybody was so nervous, like, okay, the CEO is coming to you, and double checking everything. But he was so chill. He was very easy and very nice. I actually didn't expect it like this. I thought like he's more. There would be more of a scene when he arrives. But he was just easy and calm and chill. He didn't even did a speech or so. He was just there, like just hanging a regular guest, talking to people. So very, very calm and cool. So really impressive.
To get all these high A level, as you might call it, people to an event, it has to be an attractive location. There has to be just a lot going on, because if you want the CEO of a huge company showing up, that person has a lot of opportunities showing up at several events, right? So you won't attract him to an average town in the middle of the country where nothing else is going on. It's unlikely that he or she will actually spend some time going there. But if it's in Monterey, there's a lot of other networking events. You see a lot of cool cars. There's so much to do. So people love flying to California. And if there is one business reason to get there, it is Monterey Car Week. And it is, as you mentioned, the place to connect with the people, where you don't find all of them always at SEMA show, because that's more about selling and connecting with the community, not about purchasing.
And it's also
services.
so big, right?
Yes.
I thought like even though there were some side events, it was still very big and not that intimate. Or maybe I just wasn't invited to these intimate
There's
gatherings.
actually, you know what? There is actually, if we go frequently, you get to know more of the community. And I find that really interesting. The comparison between German Automechanika, the biggest aftermarket show in the world, and now US SEMA show, kind of biggest aftermarket tuning show in the United States, or actually North America. Probably one of the biggest in the world too. It's so different because at the Automechanika, we always kind of called it a day at 6 o'clock. It ended and we left for team dinners. At the SEMA show, because of the aspect networking in the US is different than in Germany.
It just begins at 6 p.m., right?
It begins at 6. So if you come the next time, I'm happy to invite you to some of these networking events. All of a sudden, you have the import vehicle community, where all the companies like Hengstfilter, Mann & Hummel, and so on, where they just get on a little drink after work, an hour, and they all mingle. Distributors, vendors, customers, everybody is there, has some drinks, everybody gets funny, and everybody talks to each other. So the US here is really good about connecting these people in hundreds of shows after the main show. So next time,
I'm down to go.
Yes,
I also down to
because that's where business is actually being done.
Yeah. And I mean, for us, the show was pretty good. We're working currently on a $150,000 deal with one of the persons I met there, which is amazing. So it paid off by 10x.
Look, and that's why it's so difficult to say if it's worth it going, because 3 months later somebody might contact you and say, "Hey, we met at that show," and you never know what's coming around.
That's true. But coming a little bit back to Monterey Car Week, I think there's just so many events in the world which are attractive to people. And I would say the most influential events right now are Art Basel, Miami. There's BMW. There's Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah.
There is the Monterey Car Show. There's probably something in New York. I don't know what, Nantucket or so. And then there's Paris Fashion Week.
Yeah.
But that's basically it. And maybe there are a couple more. But if you show up to these, you will get all the top tier A-list CEOs or decision makers, and also the top tier talent.
And that's awesome that you mentioned that. I was not aware that you would put the Monterey Car Week in the bowl of all these other events.
Probably. I mean, I get it from.
I never saw it that aspect, but you're also more in touch with other types of events, right? I'm like gearhead since 8 years. That's all I'm thinking about: cars. So, but I would agree to the point that within the car world community, that is the week where most Supercar Blondie, Shmi, all these people are at this event. They want to be seen. They want to be part of it. Because if we're not, people will ask questions. Why have you not been there to this important event, right? Why have you not been invited to this exclusive after party? So you kind of have to be there.
I want to talk to you about the heritage of LIQUI MOLY. And for me, it's kind of weird, but it's probably a little bit like the Marlboro advertisement on the Formula One Ferrari cars back then and all that. For me, LIQUI MOLY, before I knew what kind of product it was always a sponsor of a soccer jersey from 1860 München, 1860 Munich, the other Munich soccer team besides FC Bayern. So how came that, and what is your perspective on sponsoring? I know you're big in Formula One. You've just came back from Las Vegas for the F1 race. I also want to know how that was. So
really interesting.
but basically, how's your perspective on sponsoring and in general for LIQUI MOLY?
Thanks for asking. I think there's a couple of good points to be made. So your first question, how did LIQUI MOLY get around? I won't bore you with too much history, but 1957, the company was founded in Germany. It's a German company, not a US company. Many people see the logo, red, blue, looks like the US flag, has to be American.
USA.
It's actually a German brand, right? It's
from Ulm.
From Ulm, between Stuttgart and Munich. I always have to say that when I'm speaking to people from outside of Germany, because it's not everybody knows where Ulm is, right?
It's the highest church in the world, right?
I learned the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona because they're building it since centuries, and I think they just
these fuckers
went over the Ulmer Münster.
Okay.
But we will still claim, nobody knows. We will still claim the highest church tower in the world, 162 meters. So it's really impressive to get up there. So LIQUI MOLY stands for liquid molybdenum disulfide. So it's a structure. It's like a graphite black powder, like a graphite powder, which reduces friction if you pour it into a motor. It's a solid lubricant, but mixed with oil, it's like liquid, and it just lowers the friction, right?
Okay.
That to the story. So we grew the last couple of years dramatically. Sponsorships like the TSV 1860 Munich definitely helped growing the brand awareness to the end consumers, but also to the B2B world, right? And I remember the former CEO, Ernst Prost, how that deal came into place. So he told me, I think it's a public story. He told me that he was sitting next to Karl-Heinz Wildmoser. Do you remember him?
No.
A little bit extravagant guy, but he was, don't quote me, the owner of 1860 Munich, or at least like somebody who had a lot to say, like Hoeneß for the Bayerns.
Okay.
And they were sitting, having beers, round table, and in Germany, how you have the Bierfilzel. What is the English word for that?
I don't know.
The thing you put on the beer so no flies and insects can go into beer. So they were actually talking about a deal to sponsor LIQUI MOLY, and they made the deal happen on that little cardboard. So with the numbers and everything. So that's how the deal came into place. And also the day after, they went to see how big the logo can be. And they figured out, you know what, our old logo, it had stripes around. So if you print that, there's only a maximum size you get on the jersey, right? If you print that, the actual logo is pretty small. So they just decided on the fly, let's get rid of our official logo of the lines on the side. Let's just make the middle as big as possible to have it printed as big as possible. Genius because Mr. Prospect then was the owner of the company. He could take the decision. He was really marketing driven. He was super creative. And just seeing how a company would move so fast within a week, you have that deal, including adapted logo, included strategy and everything. Moving really fast. And I think that flexibility helped us to just drive a couple of decisions, last minute decisions really fast. You always get opportunities in life. And sometimes you have to grab it and you cannot wait until it goes to this gremium. Yep. That opportunity is gone. So,
but I mean, this most of the time works only in owner operated or like CEO or like where people are really, really empowered to make decisions, right?
And I'm super grateful that the management in Germany has big trust in our team here. Of course, if something goes overboard, we have to find a solution. But we do work with budgets, and they trust us the budget. And we are really fast in the US taking these decisions. Example: sometimes Car and Driver magazine, right? They have just somebody's jumping off. A company goes Chapter 11 bankrupt, so they have an empty page to fill, but the print is next week. So they're calling different companies. Hey, we have a special offer. Do you want this? Regular price, I'm making this up, $25,000, but you could have it for $5,000. If you don't have the power to say yes in that moment, you're letting go a huge opportunity, right? So being empowered to taking these really quick opportunities makes us just advance and accelerate on a different level, I would say.
And how did it come with Formula One? I mean, you're also sponsoring there. How does your agreement look like there?
I'll go real quick to the sports sponsors, and then I'll dig down into the Formula One. So sports sponsorships always, 1860 Munich, that soccer team, right, always was really important for us in Germany to grow brand awareness amongst the average Joe. Just car enthusiast, yes or no, it doesn't matter. Let's just grow the brand. I think that's a pretty good approach. What I found in the US, the market it's 4 or 5 times more people than in Germany. If you have a budget and you just triple it into the market, it's going to vanish. So you need to focus more than in Germany. Because
unless you have that brand power or like also that Marktmacht, like how much percentage of the motor oil market do you guys have in Germany?
I would have to go back and look, but we are the most
probably like
sold
70%
in the aftermarket. Yeah? We're the market leader. That's,
okay,
I can tell in the aftermarket.
It's like, I don't know, let's say like 70%, maybe.
I would
80?
say less. I would maybe, don't quote me, maybe 30%, 40%.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah. Then it's easier and also makes more sense, right? But here, when we started at the beginning,
you were at 10 million revenue, right?
We had 7 to 10 people. Yep. I say that because it fluctuated at the beginning more than it does now. And
so that SEMA show was basically half of your marketing budget per year.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, no, the SEMA show was, yes, we had 10 million in sales roughly. So accordingly, our marketing budget was way, 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 way less. So yes,
like marketing budget is typically like 5% or so.
I would say 5 to 8%. Yeah. So we're not actually, although people think we have a huge marketing budget, we're just very reasonable where we spend it. We spend it there where we have the most impact. Just something every company should do. But we're really like looking and trying to calculate and just taking decisions which are driving the brand the most. And it works out pretty well. So now in Germany, we do a lot of these general sponsorships. Soccer team or ski jumping, huge in Germany.
True.
And BMW and Mercedes, you see these guys also sponsor these events. So it's always nice for our logo being next to these OEM logos. That kind of like gets also in the head of the people. So they see our logo and the brands which actually use our product. So that helps dramatically. We did that at the beginning here in the States too. We were sponsoring the LA Kings, famous ice hockey team, which if we have time later, I can tell you a really nice story how that came into play. Or the Chicago Bulls, which helped us to create credibility of LIQUI MOLY being a brand which is here to stay. Repair shops or distributors in any segment, they don't want to just pick up a new line because imagine for somebody who's not too much into business, it's something which maybe just that comes naturally to you, but the shelf is full of products. Might be a retail shelf or the shelf in your storage back there, but They all have products already. So you need to kind of make sure that your product isn't there. They, meaning the distributors or the shops, would not start using a product they don't trust or don't know, which maybe next year is gone, because it's a lot of investment, education, putting new SKU numbers in. So they want to have the trust that you are a brand which is here to stay.
Gotcha. Okay.
And now having LIQUI MOLY next to the Chicago Bulls logo, a Chicago Bulls, the basketball team with the most followers worldwide, next to that, gave confidence to the people that we are a brand which is here to stay. We're not just a small newcomer which is gone next year, but they gained trust.
And what's your position in that sponsoring as the official motor oil partner of the Chicago Bulls?
We didn't call it that way, but we were the only. There was more. Kia.
I know also, in Six they're doing it with the Lakers. They're the official rental car partner of the LA Lakers.
There
and I think that's kind of funny, as it's like as niche as it gets, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
it's also pretty cool, right?
Six does an amazing marketing job. Like, shout out to these guys for sure. We were not the official. We were the official brand in oil because there was no other oil brand with the Bulls. So yeah, just by default you can claim it to be that. There was also Kia, other car brands already.
But where were you placed? Like on the jersey?
The jerseys,
or like?
Back then, you could not place anything on the jerseys.
Okay. So
we were on the basketball pole. The logo, the most up logo. So when everybody like dunked in or something, and the camera was there, you could see our logo. Also on the side of the panel, there's a side panel, and we had signboards as well, which were not lit up all the time, but like I think 2 minutes per game, it was lit up. So, but it was really not only because of hoping that people see the logo, hoping that they will Google the logo, hoping they would buy something. There's too much hopes in between. You lose the customer. It was more about creating that story. It was creating the story to all our partners and distributors. Hey, we invest in the US market. We have sports teams on our side. The sports team do their due diligence that they're not partnering with a shady brand. So we are here to stay. So for the time we did that, it was amazing. It worked out really good. But now we're pivoting back to connecting with the community on grassroots to upper management level. We are involved in over 300 small events, as well as these trade shows we talked about before, or race car events. And that, I think, we shifted from sporting teams, Chicago Bulls,
more to a niche,
to more the niche of race, because the average person who is attending a basketball might not even have a car. They might be in Chicago with the L. I think they call it the L, the elevated subway.
Okay.
They might not even have a car. So we lose that person because they will never do a decision in changing their oil. But if you go to a NASCAR race, a Formula One race, these people, at least you have the proof that they like racing, they like cars. Otherwise, they would not be there. So we now try more and more to focus back into these racing related venues.
Have you seen what Engelbert Strauss is doing? Another German company?
No, tell me.
They do workwear as well, and I see a lot of similarities, but probably they stole your playbook, as they went into sports marketing in Germany pretty big, and into soccer sponsoring, like on the boards on the side. And they also have a partnership now with Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, wow.
And NFL. And probably the same thing also for trust reasons, like we're here to stay. And they opened up, I think like 1 year or 2 years ago, their flagship store in Venice. Actually on Main Street. It's super funny. It's where where the Venice sign is on Great White?
Yes.
From there, like just
the Venice sign where the beach starts, that huge V.
Yeah, just from there, like 900 feet or so,
I
like
have to check it out.
300 meters.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
We have to check it out when I'm visiting you, like on a non-podcast day. Let's have a fun day and experience some of Venice Beach, because I'm not too knowledgeable of Venice Beach.
Yeah, you should come more often.
Yeah, I would love to. But yeah, good insight. I didn't know about that. And that could be the point made for them to just create that trust factor with partnering up with a trusted sporting team.
Tell me about your Formula One agreement. How does that work?
Do you allow me to real quick touch base on the NHL and then
Sure.
To close that box of now we're kind of done with the sports teams?
Yep.
Not forever. If somebody ever listens to, we will not close the door completely. There could be still options for if it makes sense. But the NHL was the first big deal we landed, right? And we just arrived in the US. We just, you know what? Let's go big. So let's invest in people. Let's invest in a lot of things. So what what is missing if you invest a lot, money is then all of a sudden not there anymore. So we didn't have a fancy office or anything. We really put ourselves always last. And we're like, you know what, let's do it for the company. Let's do it for the company. And we had in Santa Ana, which is a city in Orange County, we had our first little warehouse. It was 1,000 square feet, in German, 100 square meters. And it was attached with a small, tiny little office. And that office, there was cockroaches in there. Kakerlaken. No, it's like something I'm not a fan of. I can't stand them. But it was.
I don't know that many fans of cockroaches.
You know what? Very good point. But I don't mind animals. I like almost all animals. But that animal, whatever. Long story short, we had this small, tiny little office because we needed sometime a place where the 3 local people just could team up and we could talk about things face to face, right? Because the rest of the gang was all spread around the United States. Anyway, so LA Kings, that deal came together and we wanted to meet in person. So the LA Kings with Luc Robitaille, he's a legend I didn't know him because I was not a huge hockey fan, but he's a legend in that whole game. So they all came with 3 black SUVs and wanted to visit us in our facility, in our fancy facility, right? Because LIQUI MOLY started to be a little bit a name. They Googled it. They saw it's a big brand in Germany. So they just assumed it's a nice fancy office we have. Well, they drove by our warehouse. They drove by again. And they were calling me, hey, Sebastian, I think we're in the wrong area. I was like, no, I don't think so. So they drove back again.
Okay.
And I was like, hey, let me go out and I'll wave you. So going out, waving, and these black SUVs stopped and like a delegation of almost 10 people came out. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Where should I put them, right?
Where should I put them? And also like, this is going to be a little bit embarrassing for the start now. Just making them go into that little warehouse, which there was even once in a while a cockroach saying hello, right? So we were all sitting there totally teamed up in that small round table and a whiteboard, and we were scribbling on the whiteboard. But long story short, these people were the coolest people ever. We cut a deal and we were sponsoring the LA Kings for over 3 years with including an in-ice logo and everything, which
wow.
It's our home base here, LA, Orange County, right? So we wanted to invest in something here first and foremost, biggest car market, the most people, and you have a lot of influencers here. So the more we get the brand out there, the better it was for us. Everything had its time and place, and it had its time and place. Would I do it again? Maybe. Let's see if there is an opportunity in the future. But I just found it funny because the way the company went from being in meetings with these high-profile people in a small cockroach-infested place to now actually having a decent office and just being upbeat and being on the SEMA and Apex show. It's just a long way the whole team here went. So I'm super proud of them. And now Formula One. Sorry for sneaking that one in.
Yeah.
We're partnering with the Formula One since must be 6 years now. Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 7.
Is it a global?
It is a global.
Okay.
So there is we're partnering on several races. We are not partnering on all races, but we can kind of pick and choose at the beginning of the season which races we do want to be part of.
Okay.
And we pick the markets where there is the most potential. So it's not always the markets where we already have a lot of business. It's where we see a lot of potential and we have the structure we can support the sales too. It's not bringing you a lot if you're partnering in a country, I'm just making this up, in a huge country, let's just say Mexico.
Yep.
If we would not have any sales in Mexico, I could make the biggest boom there. It would kind of like just go away.
So would you say it's more about the people that actually attend the race than the audience on the TV?
I would say that for smaller racing series. For IMSA, for example, we are also invested in IMSA. It's really about the experience. We invite 20, 30 people. They can talk to the people behind the scenes, to the race car drivers, to a motorsport. Super cool team that will be part of the newest Formula One movie, actually, which comes out with Brad Pitt. So we hope also our logo is somehow ingrained in that. We don't hope we did something, so the chances are high. Anyway, with a small series, it is 100% more for activating the events, right? Activating in a sense of you do promotions, people come, visit, you mingle with the people, you enjoy the company, you can talk to the people. With a racing series like Formula One, which is, if you see the worldwide stats, it's mind-blowing. If you see IMSA, then you see even NASCAR. But if you put Formula One next to that, dude, that bar chart is like through the roof here. It's worldwide, spectators, Formula One, unbeaten #1. Drive to Survive, Netflix, definitely helped to create a huge hype here. I also just recently learned that a US media company kind of bought Formula One. So now it all makes sense to me. All of a sudden, we have 3 races in the United States, right? Netflix is involved. So that grew crazy in the US. To your question, do we do it more for the activation, bringing people, or brand building? It's really both with Formula One, because so many people gave me the feedback that we saw your logo on Formula One. We kind of never knew what it is until we found out seeing it somewhere else, until we found out Googling it, until we were one of your booths. Nice. So the first connection point often was made at Formula One, which indirectly already told the people that must be something good or higher quality.
How much are you spending on Formula One?
Something I cannot say, unfortunately.
But let's say something in the mid, like 5 million wouldn't be a totally wrong guess.
You wouldn't be totally off the grid, assuming that. Okay. So yeah, your assumptions are not bad. Yes.
Nice. And then
I would love to tell you.
Yeah, and then you also have a then you have the right to place your logo at a couple of races.
Correct.
Let's say, I don't know, like 5-7 races, whatever.
It's around 10 races.
Yep. And then you can also bring in some people to the VIP, to the booth and all that.
No, that's a different effort. So that money we sponsor is only involving track side placement, and not always even physical. So sometimes you have just digital ads. So if you are at the race and you want to show your clients, hey, this is where we are, all of a sudden you're, oh, where are we? You don't see it because you see it on television, which is by far way more worth, right? You have hundreds of million people watching it on television.
Do you know how many people watch a race?
I would miss.
I can look it up.
Yeah, look. If you look it up real quick, I would be curious. So a lot of people are actually seeing it only on television and not physically in person. But that being said, there's a couple of racetracks which still physically have our signboard on the track side as well. So if we want to do something with Formula One, inviting customers, we do that almost for every US race, because people here are nuts and crazy about Formula One, especially our customer base, right? If we want to invite them, we have to purchase tickets ourselves. So my marketing director, Eva, big shout out to her. She goes ahead. We have a little bit a discount on the tickets, but not a lot. And we purchase 15, 20 tickets. And these tickets we use for promotions. We give it to our distributors and they do promotions with their customer base.
Okay, nice.
Or we have some special guests whatsoever. And yeah, then we have 2, 3, 4 team members of LIQUI MOLY joining these guys, girls, and basically having a lot of fun, going to dinners, getting to know each other, going to the racetrack. And that's what just happened in Las Vegas. Crazy, man. It's a great event. It's great to connect with your customer base, with your people you invited, with the winners of some. You really have winners, repair shop owners who are super grateful, up to vice presidents of big companies, distributors, who all are together on a table and we learn from each other. It's huge fun. And when we enjoy in Vegas, it's a night race. So we all go together to the racetrack and just have.
That's crazy. Like, it's 70 million people, by the way, average. And I think there must be more, like for Monte Carlo or so, or Miami, there must be like 200, 300 million probably. That's wild. So yeah, tell me, how was it? I remember last year was the first time in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And we were a little bit of affected by it because we had a production on the strip for BMW, and there was huge construction sites.
Was it stressful? Because it was the first time. I know logistics.
It was not during the race. It was a couple months prior, but they already teared down the whole strip, the whole asphalt, the whole concrete. Everything was gone. Yeah. Everything was teared up. That's a crazy effort, as they need a very special asphalt where they can drive on, like 7 layers or whatever. Like, it's very, very tough. And also all the big stands, the grandstands, and all that. Like, it was a lot. It was pretty much effort for them.
Yeah.
And I remember last year when I watched it on TV and I looked it up, I was like, okay, it wasn't too full, as they tried to price it same as Super Bowl for $2,500.
Buying a lot of hotel rooms,
reserving
it,
and trying to get it up to $2,500, $5,000 ticket prices.
It was a bubble for sure.
Yep. And how was it this year?
It was, I think logistically, they now figured it out how it works, because last year was the first time ever doing a massive event on the strip, where you've been to the strip before, right? Crazy amount of people, everything's lit up.
But that's actually what I love about the US. They just fucking do it.
They did it.
They just do it because on the racetrack you can go anywhere. Exactly. But in the city, it's so cool. Just do it there. Like, it's so good.
And I remember 3 years ago, I've been back to Vegas. We go back and forth all the time, and we're up the stratosphere, right?
Yep,
The little needle. And you could see from the top how they were building the Formula One track. And everybody's like, oh, it's never going to happen. Oh, it's going to be so delayed. And I was like, never bet against the US. They will pull it off. They will somehow pull it off. And you saw the black bowl, which ended up to be the sphere. Yeah. And it was like, nobody really knew what's going on. So, hey, fast forward 2 years later, speaking from 3 years in the past, it was till the last day they worked on getting the stage, getting everything done. The day before training, or even the day of training, cars were still driving on the strip because you cannot close down the strip for days and days and days, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, what happens if somebody like makes a joke? There's always stupid people, right? Yeah. Pours a can of oil on the street whatsoever. Didn't happen, but I think the first race, like a lid or something, went away after 10 minutes of training. They had to cancel the whole thing. But hey, this year, way better logistics. Kind of people knew where the stages are. Traffic was not that bad. I can tell you though, the Uber people and the taxis, they don't like the event at all because it's not only crazy driving around and you have to go around. You can't go anywhere, right? It's during the time of race, 2 hours, 3 hours before the race and the race. You cannot go within the strip because but you can access the hotels from the backside. But it's always a big detour. Number one, and the taxi drivers hate the event because normally in Vegas you have hundreds of thousands of people coming every weekend for gambling, for this, for that, for shows, for trade shows, for you name it. And the Formula One, because of the inflated prices, a lot of people who normally go to Vegas for gambling, whatever, they say, in this week, I will not go. So actually, they have less people visiting Vegas during that time versus they have on any given other weekend. Oh, okay. So I found that very interesting, but it makes sense to your point before. People were buying 10 hotel rooms and just hoping that the prices go up and sell it again, which then they ended up, a regular person wouldn't go to Vegas, purchasing a Harris hotel for $500 where you can have it normally for $50, right? So people in Vegas don't like it too much, that event. But that being said, it drives in a lot of media. It drives in a lot of spectators worldwide. So there's a lot of eyes on Vegas. And I think it's definitely a net positive for Vegas having that. Just think about all the marketing value the city receives out of that event, right? Which, of course, the taxi driver doesn't feel that in his own pocket, but as a whole and as a total, economy, just the eyeballs, right? 100%. And people just consider, just us talking about it. I'm considering going to Vegas this weekend, because you saw it somewhere on television.
It's wild. I mean, I would love to.
Have you been to the Sphere? Sorry to interrupt you.
No, actually not. I would love to go.
Amazing.
Maybe. Yeah. So we have friends visiting this weekend. And maybe there's a possibility to go.
Oh, sounds like you're planning something in secret. Yeah, make them happy, dude. It's mind blowing. Just standing in front. You've been in front of it, right?
I would also, I would also love to invite somebody from a casino. So to the podcast. I'm a huge fan of the casino. I mean, my favorite films in the world are the Ocean's series, Ocean's 11, 12, 13, and. They're just amazing, and as we were able to do a couple of productions out there, it was just an honor to actually be there. It felt like the heist basically for me, and I love everything that's has to do with it, right? Like the hotels, the casinos, how it works, and seeing this. And I mean, there's a lot of artificial stuff and fake or whatever you want to call it, but I mean, just take it as it is, and if you are responsible and if you as doing it, it's just nice, and it's so cool that they build these worlds in there, and there are so many great documentaries also about it. I'm not sure if you heard of the founder of Wynn, like Steve Wynn.
But he built a couple of hotels. Yeah,
he's a big Las Vegas legend. He also went in recently to a little bit of like crime trouble, and he wasn't always the nicest guy to his people, I think. But he was basically the first guy who built a hotel on the strip, and I think it was the Mirage. Yes. And then when the strip was empty, there was no other hotel, and he was the first one in the late 90s and bought the land and said, I'm going to build a hotel here, and this is going to be the new Vegas. Back then, everything was in Fremont and downtown. So, and that's how it evolves. And
it takes these borderline personalities sometimes to do just crazy shit, right? Nowadays, if you go to an investor and say, I'm building this huge hotel in the middle of like nowhere kind of thing, nobody would probably give you the money. You have to have the balls for that, the borderline.
Same with the Sphere, right? You've been at the Sphere.
I've been in the Sphere twice now. It was
have you been at U2 or what?
At one U2 concert, which was incredible because U2 was not actually there. It looked like they were there because you have
in the beginning they were there, right?
At the beginning they were there, and I think they still have recurring live presentations there. But it was basically a virtual stage. So they have a stage there, but they projected a stage behind that stage. So it looked like they were standing on the stage performing, and virtually then they had a screen up. So it looked like U2 was there. So wild. But even better was this other show I watched about the Earth, basically. Really nice. It was emotional almost, just seeing the beauty of that nature, beauty of the Earth here, where we are very privileged to live on. And how we as humans leave our footprint in a negative way in that Earth. So they made it kind of emotional, which is not a mistake, but just the impact on you, having 360 view, the sound quality, the vibrating seats, it's out of this world. And I encourage you, next time you're in Vegas, go there. It's amazing.
Okay, I want to see it.
Yes.
Nice. Let's
you
come
feel
back.
Like you're in a spaceship. Because it's traveling, the camera, you as a production master, like you would appreciate that. Like you fly almost like in a spaceship around. It's crazy. Really cool.
Let's come back before we close it down a little bit to Liqui Moly. I put in a big cliffhanger when I started the podcast, which was you scaled the company from 10 million to 100 million revenue. Congratulations on that. That is very impressive.
Thank you.
How did you do it in 2 minutes?
So let me just correct. It was not 6 years, but I arrived here in 2016, 17. So It's already 8 years.
Okay.
I don't want to give myself wrong credit. And also it's really a team effort because I really encourage everyone who wants to build a company. You have to team up with the right people. Don't boss them around. It's a team. At the end of the day, treat them fair, like you want to be treated, and just find good talent. Because at the end of the day, it's a long run. It's a long game. You need to delegate a lot of things. And if you cannot trust your people, if they don't have the skills for doing that, it's kind of a lost game. You're just running against the wall. You're running the marathon without water. There's a lot of analogies I could do now, right? But it's not going to work out. So first and foremost, doing that in 2016, 17, we were looking at lower sales, of course. The brand was kind of it was naturally growing to a point where it just didn't grow anymore a lot. So we needed to invest in people, in salespeople. We needed to invest in marketing, as I expressed before, teaming up with the right teams, teaming up with the right sponsorships, just having the winning horses in a race. We had to bet on the winning horses, not go with any distributor, but we had to restructure, get rid of a couple of distributors who were not treating the brand like a premium brand as it deserved. We had to get rid of them, just cut them off in a legal way. Find the right distributors, pitch the product, show them what we're doing with marketing, that, hey, if you want to grow with us, now is the perfect time to get on board. We're investing in people and marketing. And fast forward a couple of years later, we started to see that traction on the street because we, on the one hand, hired more salespeople, getting to the repair shops, creating a pull for our product. At the same time, we had great account managers getting to the distributors, creating a push for our product. And at the end of the day,
you always have this pull and push strategy, right?
Yes. Because you need to kind of do both. In theory, I could do only pull. Because let's do this. If I do only push and I have a distributor and I convince them because maybe...
Push is basically outbound sales, right?
You have a sale to the distributor and they might sell it to the repair shop. But if maybe it's first stuck at the distributor already and they will not sell it to the repair shop, but maybe I did a good job selling it to the distributor, but they need to sell. They need to be successful, that I'm successful. So if they cannot sell it to a repair shop, it's kind of lost. I have one-time sale, it's done. It's not sustainable. So I need to create that pull from the repair shop, meaning I have to educate the repair shop, tell them the differences between our products, competitor products, support the repair shop where we can with marketing, with other initiatives, with programs. And then if the repair shop has that relationship to my people and we create that pull, they start buying and they start asking the distributor, hey, do you carry LIQUI MOLY? Trust me, if that distributor receives 5 phone calls from repair shops wanting to have your brand, they will list it without me even going to that distributor. So I would say just pushing at the distributor level is not sustainable. Creating that pull with people you trust and you trained is the way to go in most segments and in most markets. And that's why I rely so much on people, which a lot of companies now are saying, oh, AI is doing the job for me. We don't need people. People are the biggest expense on a payroll. I totally see them as an investment. And it is the last thing I would save in a company. If you have good quality people, dude, the sky is the limit. But you have to have the good people. They have to have the right attitude to work with you, for you. And if you have that and you have the incentive structures lined up, that there's no contradictions involved, but they're all pulling on one string at the end of the day, dude, you have a winning team. So that's like in a nutshell how we do it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we had the honor to do one production with you guys together, and I saw a lot of your people, a lot of your team, and also at the show in Las Vegas. It was great to see them, and everybody had an attitude. Everybody wanted to get stuff done, which was amazing. And throughout all the different facilities and the different branches, right? Yeah. Whether it was a sales rep or a marketing person or somebody from accounting or so, like everybody was very...
The attitude is right. It's about invested. The outcome. It's not about bureaucracy and, let's make sure the process works. It's all needed, yeah, but it's really about, always think about, do we serve the customer? Do we serve the whole purpose of actually making the customer happy? And if they're happy with the product, everything else falls in line. And I think they all incorporated that. And I'm very happy that you've been there. And also thank you for your support with that production. It was also beyond professional.
Amazing. Appreciate it, buddy. Thanks. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode, this little excursus to the motor oil, to the auto parts world. I really loved it, and Sebastian, I could go on forever. Maybe we do a part 2.
Also, there's so much to talk about.
Yes, I mean, also besides LIQUI MOLY, there's a lot of stuff. How you moved to the US, how they made it here, building a business. A lot of topics we didn't even touch. So if you want to hear more about Sebastian, just write us an email at podcast@bdxmedia.de or just type me a DM on Instagram. I would love to get your feedback on this episode. And if you want to learn more about Sebastian, if you maybe want to apply at LIQUI MOLY, you're on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to reach
LinkedIn,
you.
Sebastian Zelger, or Instagram, Sebastian.Zelger1, or go to our website, liquimoly.com, liqui-moly.com. And yeah,
there's a lot of ways to get in touch. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in again. The next episode will be online as always on Wednesdays. So very excited to have you on team here on board with the podcast. Thanks for tuning in and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Ciao.